Jen, thank you. Today, flight reductions we've been talking about at the nation's 40 busiest airports are taking effect, fueling the frustration that already exists for many passengers. The move because, remember, the air traffic control shortages brought on by the longest federal government shutdown in U.S. history.
Yeah, a lot of people worried about their flights and wondering what to do if things don't go as planned. Our team coverage continues this morning. Our Devon Raming and Ugochi Aloka have the latest from Bush and Hobby airports. But first, we're joined by travel expert Julian Keel with Points Path. Good morning, Julian. Thank you for joining us this morning. And Julian, if you can hear us, we say good morning. We're wondering what travelers should do right away to protect themselves in these very uncertain times.
This is an unprecedented situation. Frankly, if my trip was optional or could be postponed, I would look at moving. Yet airlines are currently offering refunds for travelers even if they're not yet affected by these reductions. Now, not everyone can cancel or move their trip, so if you have to travel in the next few days, be proactive about the options. I would consider booking a backup flight. Under most airfares, except for basic economy, you can later cancel your flight without a penalty and get a credit for the cost of the flight and use it on a future trip. Another great way to book a backup flight is to use those frequent flyer miles. Most U.S. airlines will allow you to cancel a ticket booked with miles even up to the very last minute without a penalty and get those miles back. So look at your backup options now before you even leave the house.
I'm thinking if I have plans that I could change or I could delay, it really might be a good idea to do it. Let's talk about travel insurance or any of those credit card protections. Would they offer better coverage than relying on the airline refund policies?
If you do book your flight with a credit card that has those protections, you're definitely going to be better off than relying on the airline. Now, the key here is you have to have a credit card that actually has those coverages. Not all of them do, so you'll need to dive into the benefits of your card to find out if yours has those coverages. The second thing is you have to pay for your trip with that card. So if you've already booked your trip with a different card, you may be out of luck. In that case, you could look at travel insurance, but frankly, we're so close and it's such an unusual situation, you're probably not going to be covered there. So again, look at the options now, find out what your coverages are before you leave the house.
Yeah, and good news is that the airlines are trying to work with everybody right now. So as they do try to, say, look, you can change your flight, you can cancel your flight, you can refund it. How do those refund rights apply if your connecting flight is canceled? So maybe it's like leg 2 of your journey.
Right. If you get the first thing to keep in mind is that if your flight is delayed or canceled and you accept an alternate flight, you have no right to a refund or any sort of compensation. If the airline is only guaranteeing that they will get you from your origin to your destination. They don't guarantee how or when. So even if the flight that you accept, the alternate, is hours or days later than your original flight, you have no right to a refund. So if you are looking for a refund, you either need to book your connecting flight, if it is canceled, on an alternate airline, or cancel your trip and go back home. So if you take another flight, you're not going to be able to get a refund.
Interesting. So we need to know about that. Any other misconceptions about passenger rights that we need to know about as we kind of try to handle all this?
Yeah, a lot of people think that they are due compensation, that they're due for lost time or delays. In the U.S., that's not the case. Really, you're only due a refund of your flight if you decide not to complete your journey, whether it's at your origin or a connection point. The one thing to keep in mind, if you're traveling to Europe, the rules are different. European laws do provide for compensation for delays and cancellations. So if that's on your agenda and you are delayed or canceled, definitely look into filing a claim under European rules.
Okay, Julian Keel with Points Path. We really appreciate your advice and your perspective as we try to roll with all these punches out there. Julian, thank you.
Thank you.
Now, we're already seeing hundreds of flight cancellations nationwide, and that includes at Bush Airport, one of the country's busiest hubs, as you may know. And that's where we find Ugochi Aloka live once again at Terminal E. What kind of cancellations are we seeing there now, Ugochi?
Well, Jacob, as of 3 minutes ago when we checked here out of Bush Airport, we're we're seeing about 33 flight cancellations out of IAH. And keep in mind that number is expected to grow because they are expected to reduce flights by 4% today, and by the end of next week up to 10%. Right now, several airlines are allowing passengers to change their flights for free, but hopefully it does not impact several travelers coming this way at Bush this morning. So hopefully they get lucky, but you can see the line here. It is definitely picking up in Terminal E. Now here's a heads up for people planning to buy tickets soon. Experts suggest booking with airlines directly. They say that makes it easier to change flights. They also recommend avoiding layovers if possible. Carriers like United Airlines will try to preserve their hub-to-hub operations and cut regional flights instead. We spoke to the managing director of customer service for United Airlines about the options they are offering passengers now.
We have travel waivers out available for customers. They can go on united.com or use our United app. They can get a refund, no questions asked, regardless of what kind of ticket they purchased, or they can use the United app or the .com and rebook their flight for another time. What we've seen at the airport is people thankful for the TSA agents and the federal agents that are working. I think they appreciate the plans and how they've adopted over the last couple of days.
Yeah, back out here live. Again, the line picking up here in Terminal E. Just because the cancellations are not happening in one full swoop doesn't mean you can relax. It is so important to check your flight ahead of time to see the status of it on your airline's app, as well as get here early as you can to plan. Coming up in the next hour on KH11 Plus at 8 a.m., we'll have a breakdown on just how many flights are expected to be canceled daily and what you can do if your flight is impacted. Reporting live here at Bush Airport, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Right, a reminder that it's supposed to get worse. All right, Ugochi, thank you for the look.
Of course, Bush Airport's not the only one here in Houston that's seeing impacts from this travel reduction. Hobby Airport also seeing some cancellations, mostly from Southwest Airlines. Our Devon Raming joining us live from Hobby this morning. Devon, what is Southwest saying about the impact to its flights?
Well, Alona, good morning. You know, the good news in all of this is that Southwest Airlines says most of their travelers won't be impacted as they try to navigate this new directive from the FAA, which is the goal. You can see here at Hobby, if you look at the departures and arrivals board here, there are only 3 canceled flights for the entire day here that are listed on the departures and arrivals, which isn't all that significant considering the amount of flights that take off and arrive here through Southwest, through Hobby Airport. Now, Southwest Airlines proactively canceled roughly 120 flights for today, which is just a small portion of its daily schedule, and expects fewer than 100 additional cancellations tomorrow. But those cancellations are expected to grow as airlines ramp up to a 10% reduction by next week. And as all major airlines make adjustments, many travelers are arriving early just in case they encounter any last-minute changes.
I haven't seen too many cancel from Southwest. They may start canceling today, but I haven't seen any. I haven't talked to any of the people at the convention I'm going to. None of their flights was canceled. They were delayed, but not canceled.
Yeah, so smooth sailing here at Hobby Airport. I know that this is not the case, though, at many other airports across the country. Now, it's important to note, Southwest says the vast majority of customers will not be affected, but those who are will be notified ahead of time. Southwest says it will automatically rebook most of those impacted customers, but you can also receive a full refund if your flight is canceled and you choose not to fly. But again, back out here live at Hobby Airport, you can see it's smooth here. There aren't very many lines. This has been the case since we've been here about 5:30, since 5:30 this morning. Just a reminder, though, if you are flying Southwest through November 12th, just be sure to double check your status online or through the app before heading to the airport. Of course, we'll have another live update from Hobby Airport with any of the latest changes coming up in about another hour or so right here on KHOU 11 Plus. For now, reporting live from Hobby, Devon Raming, KHOU 11 News.
Okay, good to see that things are pretty calm there at Hobby and really moving along pretty well. We're just going to be watching that carefully all day today. Time now is 7:40.